It was my last year at a quiet UC campus in California. I'd always been the type to stay out of the party scene until that spring. My friends convinced me to go to Deltopia, the infamous annual party weekend at UCSB. I figured, why not? Senior year. One last chance to be reckless. The five of us squeezed into Hunter's car. Me, Damon, Benjamin, Armin, and Hunter himself. All tall guys, shoulder to shoulder with backpacks on our laps and barely enough breathing room. But the vibe was good. Music blasting. Jokes flying. We were not ready for what actually happened. After a brutal hunt for parking in Isla Vista, Hunter managed to sweet-talk a sorority girl into letting us use her spot. He was always like that. Charming when he needed to be. We were crashing at his sister's apartment, and during Deltopia, that's like holding a VIP pass to survival. Floor space? Good enough. That night, we pre-gamed with his sister and her roommates. Everyone was friendly, the drinks were flowing early, and the weekend felt like it was off to a perfect start. But then, Amir showed up. Let me tell you about Amir. He wasn't part of our plan. None of us had invited him. He was the kind of guy who forced himself into groups. Loud, needy, the kind of person who talks over you, then plays victim when you stop listening. He had history with us. Petty stuff, manipulative games, crossing boundaries. But there he was, just standing outside the liquor store as we left with bags of alcohol. Like he had been summoned by the devil himself. We didn't say a word, just kept walking. But he casually joined us like he'd been there the whole time. "Why are you guys so surprised to see me?" he said, grinning. Hunter's jaw tightened. Amir wasn't supposed to be here. No one had given him the address. And yet somehow, he had found us. Back at the apartment, Amir asked if he could use the bathroom. Hunter hesitated, but said fine. Amir sprinted ahead and knocked on the door before we even got close. Hunter's sister opened it, and without missing a beat, Amir walked right past her and said, "I'm staying here." She didn't know him, but assumed he was with us. When Hunter realized what Amir had done, lied to his sister to get in, he lost it. Kicked Amir out in front of everyone. Told him to his face, he wasn't welcome. Amir didn't argue at first, but for 20 full minutes, he stood outside that door, knocking, yelling, pleading, then cursing when no one opened up. Eventually, he left. We all laughed it off once the drinks hit. But that tension, like something had come unhinged, never really left. And when we checked Hunter's iPhone and saw that Amir had been using his location, we knew he hadn't just run into us. He had stalked us. The next day was a blur of music, sweat, and sun. Deltopia was everything it promised. Wild, loud, endless. That night, 10 of us, our original 5+ more friends, crammed back into the apartment. We told them about Amir, about the location tracking. One guy, Ryland, checked his phone and froze. "Dude," he said, "Amir's dot is right here." He turned his phone so we could see. That familiar blue dot was right over us. Amir was nearby, watching, listening, probably in a car outside. The second we said it out loud, the dot started moving, fast, heading away from the apartment. He'd been there, for who knows how long. But again, we brushed it off, laughed about it. We were drunk, high and full of that college invincibility, until the middle of the night. I woke up sometime after 2 a.m. The apartment was silent. Everyone was out cold on the floor, on couches, passed out from exhaustion. And then I heard it. Glass. Shattering. Not just a crack. It was violent. like someone had thrown something hard. I sat up, pulse racing. The sliding glass door in the living room was completely shattered. A rock lay in the middle of the floor, surrounded by shards. Then I saw it, the closet door handle, twitching. Just a small movement, like someone inside had just shifted. My first thought was Amir. It had to be him. No one else would go this far. I stood there, holding an empty wine bottle, heart thundering. I was seconds away from yanking that door open and swinging. But something stopped me. I backed out, woke Hunter, whispered everything. We crept back to the living room, and the closet door was now wide open, empty, except on the floor, deep in the corner, was a knife. A long, heavy kitchen knife, still warm from someone's hand. He had been inside, waiting for me to open the door. He could have ended my life. We woke everyone up, called the police. But all we got was a report. Broken glass during Deltopia isn't rare, they said. But this wasn't a prank. The next morning, Amir had blocked all of us, vanished off the grid. He knew where we lived, where we studied. And that night, we learned exactly how far he was willing to go. Sometimes, late at night, I still see that door handle twitching. And I wonder, next time, will I open it? It happened in April of 1996. I had just finished basic training and was stationed as a communications specialist at an air base in San Angelo, Texas. I was 24, and for the first time in my life, I felt like I had some control, some direction. I had two close friends on base, Sebas and Kay. The three of us were inseparable. So when Sebas suggested a road trip to Austin, we didn't hesitate. Kay offered to drive, and we piled into her SUV for what we thought would be a chill weekend away from the base. We never made it to Austin without crossing paths with something, or someone that didn't belong on any highway. About an hour into the drive, the Texas landscape blurred past us. Miles of open fields, dusty trees, long stretches of road with nothing in sight. That's when Sebas, who was riding in the back, leaned forward. "Did you guys see that SUV pull off the shoulder right after we passed it?" Kay glanced in the rear view. I twisted around. Sure enough, a dark-colored Tahoe, or something similar, was trailing us at a steady distance. Nothing too strange, until Kay changed lanes. The SUV did too. She changed again. It followed. "Okay, that's weird," she muttered, her voice tightening. We were alert now. Something felt off. And then, flashing lights, blue and red, hidden behind the Tahoe's grille. We thought we were being pulled over by an undercover cop. Kay complied, pulling on to the side of the road. Dust rose around us like fog. Then he stepped out. The man was not a cop. He wore black tactical gear, but there was no badge, no name, no official insignia, just a strange patch on his shoulder we couldn't make out. His clothes looked more like military surplus than police issue. He didn't approach the driver's window. He just stood behind the car, staring at us. And I mean staring. Peering into the windows like he was studying us. Looking at the bags in the back. Kay's military bumper sticker, the license plate, everything. "Why isn't he coming over?" I whispered. Sebas cracked his window and called out, "Is there a problem, officer?" That's when the man moved, fast, straight to Kay's window. "License and registration," he said flatly. Kay hesitated, then handed it over. He walked back to his vehicle and just sat there, not moving, not checking anything. We waited. 10 minutes, 15. Then the passenger and rear doors of the SUV opened. Two more men stepped out. They were dressed the same, black, unmarked. No faces I'd want to see in daylight, let alone on a highway in the middle of nowhere. "Okay, this is officially messed up," Sebas said, his voice sharp. I kept my breathing steady. I'd been trained to stay calm under pressure, but my gut screamed that something was very, very wrong. Finally, the first guy came back to the window. He didn't mention speeding or paperwork or why he stopped us. Instead, he looked at Kay and asked, "Was your dad in the military?" She blinked. "What?" He pointed to her bumper sticker. Kay gave a nervous laugh and said, "That's mine. I'm in the military." She glanced back at us. "They are too." The man froze. His shoulders tensed, and for a brief second he looked back at the other two. They didn't move, just watched. Then, with a flat voice, he said, "You're free to go. Drive safe." He handed back the license and walked away. All three of them got back in their SUV. No warning, no ticket, nothing. And before Kay could even start the engine, the Tahoe peeled out and sped off, vanishing into the horizon. We sat in stunned silence. Those men weren't cops, and we weren't being pulled over. We were being scoped out. We didn't speak for the next 20 minutes. What could we say? We had stared something dark in the face, and somehow got lucky. We made it to Austin, drank too much, laughed too loud, but none of us forgot what happened. It wasn't until a week later that it hit us again. We were back at the base when the local news flashed across the rec room screen. A man and woman had been found dead in a ditch off a rural highway, robbed, shot, dumped. The vehicle found nearby? A black Tahoe, reported stolen months ago. It had been torched. Sebas and I froze, called Kay, rewatched the report together. Everything lined up. We went to the police, gave them everything, our route, the time, descriptions. They took it seriously. But nothing ever came of it. No arrests, no updates, just a dark, unsolved shadow on the highway. But I know what happened. They thought we were civilians, easy prey. They stopped us to see if they could make us disappear. But Kay's bumper sticker, the one thing she'd almost taken off weeks earlier, saved us. Sometimes I wonder what would have happened if she hadn't had it. If we'd laughed when he asked about the military. If we'd stepped out of the car. Would they have dragged us into the woods? Would anyone have ever found us? To this day, I don't drive back roads at night, and I don't trust unmarked SUVs. I've never told this story publicly. I still won't give my name. All I'll say is this. About 10 years ago, I met someone on the side of a highway who didn't just want to rob me. He wanted to become me. It started with a road trip. I was driving solo from West Patterson, New Jersey, down to Fort Worth, Texas to visit my parents. I'd been away too long and this trip felt overdue. Somewhere along the way, either Arkansas or Oklahoma, I honestly don't remember, my car started acting up. I pulled over on a desolate stretch of road, not a town in sight, just open fields, scattered trees, and the kind of silence that makes your skin itch. I popped the hood and stared blankly at the engine. I'm no mechanic. I was just killing time, pretending I knew what I was doing while deciding if I could afford to call for help. I didn't even have AIDA. Then I heard tires crunching behind me. A white pickup truck had pulled up, no front plate, the kind of truck you forget as soon as it passes. The door creaked open, and out stepped a man. He looked rough, curly hair, uneven beard, grease under his fingernails. If I'm being honest, he looked like an older version of me. Same building, same height, same eyes. "Car trouble?" he asked. I nodded. He didn't wait for permission, just walked over and started peering into my engine like he owned it. Claimed he was a mechanic, and from how confidently he moved, I believed him. "Probably need a compression tester," he mumbled after a minute. I had no idea what that was. He glanced at his truck. "My buddy's got one. He might be able to bring it over." Sounded reasonable, until he pulled out his phone, stared at the screen and frowned. "Dead," he said. "Mind if I use yours?" Without thinking, I handed it to him. He took it with one hand, and with the other, he pulled a gun out of his jacket. My stomach dropped. "Sit down," he said quietly. "Don't do anything stupid." His voice was cold, steady. He'd done this before. I sat on the gravel shoulder, hands up. He went through my pockets, took my wallet, my backpack from the passenger seat. Then he pointed the gun at me again. "Phone passcode." I gave it to him. Then he got into his truck and drove away. I sat there for a long time, shaking, furious, humiliated. But I was alive. Eventually, someone else pulled over and helped jump my car. They even gave me directions to Fort Worth. I made it home, told my parents I'd lost my phone and wallet. I didn't want to worry them. But the nightmare wasn't over. A few weeks later, I got a letter in the mail. A bank I didn't recognize, thanking me for opening a new line of credit. Then another letter came. Best Buy. Over $1,000 in purchases charged to my name. I froze. I hadn't just been robbed, I had been replicated. He had my wallet, my driver's license, even my social security card, which I stupidly kept tucked behind the ID. And now, he was living a second life, as me. I spent the next month buried in paperwork, calling banks, freezing credit, filing police reports, reporting identity theft to the FTC. Nothing worked. Every few days, new charges appeared, different states, different stores. Sometimes in my name, sometimes slight variations. Then I got the call that shattered me. My health insurance provider. Someone had checked into a hospital in Georgia using my identity, not just billing fraud. It created a false medical record, one that could have gotten me killed in a real emergency. That's when I decided to stop playing defense. I went on the hunt. I set Google alerts for my name, monitored every credit bureau, scoured forums, watched Craigslist like a hawk. And then one night, I saw it. A listing on Craigslist in Jackson, Tennessee. Used tools and electronics. But not just any tools, the exact items charged to that Best Buy card. Everything matched. I messaged the seller, acting like an interested buyer. Told him I had cash. Asked to meet. He replied, gave me a time, a location, said he'd be in a red pickup. I debated driving there myself, but I knew if I saw him, I wouldn't walk away calm. So I called the Jackson police. Gave them everything. Practically begged them to check it out. Hours passed. Then my phone rang. He spotted us as soon as he pulled into the lot, the officer said. Tried to flee, lost control of the truck. Went into a ditch. The man had panicked instantly. They questioned him. He claimed he didn't know where the items came from, that a friend gave them to him. But he cracked. He gave names, gave addresses. And it led to something bigger. 3 men. They weren't just robbing people. They were targeting travelers, solo drivers, mostly in the South, robbing them, stealing their identities, selling off what they didn't need. I wasn't the only victim, but I was one of the few who fought back. All 3 of them were eventually caught, convicted, locked away. But the damage lingers. To this day, I don't carry my social security card. I check my credit constantly. I still feel like there's someone wearing my face, whispering my name. Because for a while, he wasn't just impersonating me, he was replacing me.